Man, does that feel good. I changed my mind. I'm not going to run this system. I'm actually going to run it a completely different way. This is what my brake line job looks like. That side is hooked up. It goes right into the existing line, comes over here, and will work once we pull our drift brake, once it's together. Now somehow I have to end this existing line so that no fluid will come out of it once I push my foot brake. But I'm not worried about that just yet. We'll do this side. This is what this side looks like. This was the original, the green. I have that capped off. Then I have my new handbrake line going to the existing pad like I said before. Remember when I got my truck's hood painted? And how when I went there, they didn't have a receipt for me, so I didn't pay them? Wow. Well, it's been a long time and I still have yet to pay them. They said they were gonna send me a bill, but I never received a bill. So then they called me and said that they wanted to square up with me, which I completely understand, you know, they're a business. They've done work for me, so it's time to square off. So I said, yes, I can do that. But before I go ahead and pay you, I want my truck to be aligned. So I'm going to drop off my truck, get it aligned, and then once that's done, then I'll go ahead and settle up with them. Now I have to remove this side of the brake line so that I can rebend it. Because the way I have it bent right now, it won't fit. It won't work. The reason why this project has been so difficult is because this car uses a bubble flared brake line, which is less common, I guess, at least for my automotive shop. So they're only running standard inverted flare, which is more common. So whatever I have to do, I always have to go back and forth. So I have bubble flare, inverted flare, and then I have race flare. Well, not race flare, but race threads. Putting this e-brake in a vehicle, at least a BMW, it's extremely difficult. Save yourself some time, get something different. I have to remove this side's gas tank brackets off for the second time. I'm not complaining, there's no complaints coming out of me. The reason why I'm not complaining is because this is a learning process. I've never built a drift car. I've never ran brake lines to begin with. Luckily, I've been blessed with some good brake lines in the past. I'm having fun. And if you don't like it, well, that's your problem. These brake line hoses aren't looking very good. Not the ones I'm running, the ones that are already existing back here. The rubber on them looks like it's cracked, so that's wonderful. Probably going to have to replace those next. Let's see if this will do the trick. Driver's side's finally done. I've cleaned the brake fluid filter. Now it's time for a new brake fluid. We'll let the gravitational bleed begin. It's awesome that we got it back together. I'm not sure if this is how I'm going to run it completely in the future, but we'll see. Now I have to tighten the rest of my brake lines. Here's a funny subject. The car itself takes .4 for the foot brake. This requires .3. So what would happen if we had an inline hydro e-brake? Because then we'd have 4 mixing with 3. Well, I guess you'd have to buy an inline brake that matched that system. That wouldn't be too hard. Hopefully this will be the last time I have to tighten up these gas tank brackets. Gas tank bracket! Goes right in between those two. Up here in the northern states, we have a little friend that not a lot of you guys in the south have. No, not Waffle House. Rust. It's always fun when you gotta do something with your brake caliper, especially with an older vehicle, like 10, 20 years old. Usually the bleeder screws, kiss those things goodbye. You usually have to buy a whole new caliper because they just break off and then you can't bleed your brakes. Luckily, I've had this one sit for 2 days with WD-40 on it. That one I put on about 2 hours ago. Hopefully by the time I get to it, this stuff has penetrated it. Maybe I should have used something else. I've always had better luck with PB Blaster. So I just wanted to mention that rust really sucks. And I hope that these bleeder screws come undone. Because if they don't, I will be very upset. Leave it to BMW to switch up the 8mm bleeder screw. I'll tell you what, every single bleeder screw I've ever touched has been 8mm. This one is 7mm. Of course it is. It's actually twisting. So far, the WD-40 or PB Blaster or whatever has penetrated this thing, so it is lubricated. I've backed it off probably 2 turns. I'm putting a little bit of pressure on here. This sucks the fluid through the line. The only thing is you don't want to suck it too fast and not be able to put fluid back in the reservoir. The reservoir is slightly lower. I put more fluid in it. We'll give it a little bit more of a suck to it. That was a close call. The reservoir was almost out. Almost. Probably about 5 more seconds and we would have been starting from square one. Alright, I think this side is good. We'll tighten this bleeder screw back up and go on to the other side. This bleeder screw looks brand new. Yeah, this side's doing very well. That looks good. Right now I'm getting my handbrake ready. So originally it was sitting like this, but I don't like that. I want it like this, so that it sits up at a 90 and I can pull it. So I try to explain like the differences in metals and how they can touch and how they can't touch and stuff like that. So what happens is you can't have aluminum touching steel, because what happens is the aluminum accelerates the steel breakdown process. Now when they sent me this handbrake, they built it completely wrong. This weld is magnificent. I love this weld. It's very consistent. It's very nice. But the nuts and bolts that they sent me were actually steel. So they had steel bolts going into here, touching this piece of aluminum and this piece of aluminum, and then the bolt that went in here was steel, which is touching aluminum. So what will happen is over the course of probably a week is you'll see rust on the bolts. Mind you that these nuts and bolts have probably only sat on this thing for a couple weeks after manufacturing it. But if you look at these washers, not sure if you're going to see that, but they already have rust on them. So this whole thing has to be replaced. I mean, granted, this steel will last as long as this vehicle will. The only thing is it's not going to be as nice looking. So for now, I'm going to mock it up with these. But once I'm done mocking it up, the parts are coming right off, because I don't need this aluminum to start oxidizing like it already has. I understand the car looks like garbage, and not everything's done the appropriate way. But when I can save and when I can make things look nice when I can, then we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to drill a hole right about there. I had to make a metric coupling nut, fresh from 3D Machines shop. Just like everything, I've come up with a redneck solution for this. They didn't sell these at the hardware store. But in theory, this goes on here like this, and then this goes on here like this. Oh yeah! Freshly blood brakes. Oh man! Man, does that feel good. Like, it's got that sophisticated, yet like industrial look to it. No matter what type of bridge we're going to cross, even if that bridge is at a 90-degree angle, we're gonna find something to get up it. But we're gonna get this car on the road. It might take a while, but this thing is going to be hot. It's going to be the cat.